verse 13. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. This was very comforting to me as a new believer. My friend that led me to the Lord gave me a book, like a Bible study for new believers, and it gave Bible verses for answers. It would ask a question, and then there would be a Bible verse as an answer. Question, Bible verse, question, Bible verse. How do I deal with temptation? 1 Corinthians 10:13, my Bible says, no temptation has overtaken you but such as is common to man, and God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape so that you will be able to endure it. So every time we are tempted, the Greek word parasmos, can be translated to tempt, but it also can mean to test. And that's what sometimes a temptation is. It's a test. So God allowed Adam and Eve to be tempted in the Garden of Eden, but it was also a test to see if they would remain faithful to God under duress. And of course, they both failed. So we must not look down upon them for their frailty and their humanity. They did sin, they did wrong, they were punished, but don't think that if someone else was there that they wouldn't have fallen for it, or anybody else. So the Bible's teaching us here in this one verse that God will not allow no temptation to come to you that you will not be able to say no to and deny yourself. And that's the Holy Spirit living in you. You have divine power. Jesus is living in you. You have divine power. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, sometimes we need additional help from other people. And God sometimes will bring another believer into your life to be a blessing to you, to help you to overcome obstacles. He could help you himself. You could read it in a book. You have a problem with anything, there's probably a book on that topic. So if you have a particular sin, temptation that's really hard for you to overcome, get information on that book, or get a book that's on that information, or go on the internet, or get information from a professional Christian counseling organization. The rest of chapter 10 is talking about being a stumbling block to other believers. And I call this the law of love. That sometimes as Christians, we have our own individual rights. We have a right to do this. We have a right to go there. We have a right to, we might say to ourselves. When you are exercising your right, negatively affect, maybe you want to voluntarily give up that right because of your concern for other people. So again, before you're saved, we're basically selfish people. That's our nature. When you see two kids playing together and they're fighting over one toy and there's 10 toys, mine, 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 they're showing you the selfishness within their nature. Unsaved people are basically selfish by nature. They're concerned about their own lives, their own rights, their own possessions, their own family, me, mine. When we become saved and transformed into the likeness of Christ, we lower our thinking of ourselves and begin thinking of others and what would benefit others. And as we go through our Christian life, As we become more like Jesus, now we're more concerned about caring for others. And we may have to give up some of our rights so we don't cause another brother to stumble or fall from the faith. Where is that? In verse 23, 1 Corinthians 10:23, all things are lawful or permissible, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, legitimate, but not all things edify. That means to build up. Let no one seek his own good, but that of his neighbor. And then it goes into eating. At this time, when the Corinthians were written, there were people eating meat from the meat market. It was sacrificed to idols. And if you're sitting down with someone that thinks there's something wrong with that meat because it was sacrificed to idols, it says in verse 27, if one of the unbelievers invites you and you want to go, eat anything that is set before you without asking questions for conscience sake. But if anyone says to you, this is meat sacrificed to idols, do not eat it for the sake of the one who informed you and for conscience sake. I mean, not for your own conscience, but the other man's, for why is my freedom judged by another's conscience? So if I partake with thankfulness, why am I slandered for concerning that for which I give thanks? And then the key verse, probably, of the whole Bible is 31. Whatever then you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. And then verse 32 is going to put everybody on the earth in three categories. And this is really important, particularly those people who do not see Israel the same way that God does. Israel is still God's chosen people. That doesn't mean that they're all saved, because evidently they're not, because they do not believe Jesus is the Messiah, but Israel still is their chosen people. And there's a belief in most mainline Protestant churches that the church has replaced Israel, that God's pretty much done with Israel, and now all the promises that went to Israel now go to the church. The technical term for that is supersessionism, that Israel has replaced, the church has replaced Israel. It's another title of that is called replacement theology. But we have to make distinctions where the Bible makes distinctions. This is why it's important to study the Bible and analyze the Bible and pay attention to detail, because most Christians do